my own initiative lah to learn. Okay, so I'm basically learning. Okay, and when Dr. Sri Ayu mentioned about head of quality tu, I would like to share with you daripada Aisyah radhiyallahu anhu bahawa Nabi Muhammad SAW berkata, sesungguhnya Allah Azza wa Jalla kasih kepada seseorang daripada kamu melakukan sesuatu amalan hendaklah dibuat secara tekun, penuh berkualiti. Ya. If you learn, okay, please work hard to learn. Kalau you main bersungguh-sungguh. Kalau you belajar bersungguh-sungguh lah. Okay. And of course, I always remind my students, and I would like to remind all of you also. At the beginning, when I was teaching this Islamic accounting related course, of course, it is an elective course, so it depends on your choice. So years back, there are not many takers on this course. Maybe because people are not familiar. People prefer to join other courses and so on, which is okay. But then if you sign up for Islamic accounting related course, you actually can add a value to your qualification. Okay. And also, as Dr. Sri Ayu mentioned, whatever we learn which related to Islam is actually, it is our responsibility as Muslim. Even you can also share with your friends, with your family about what is Islamic accounting is all about actually. Okay, you can be macam duta lah ataupun, but of course, having said that, it is very I would like to highlight strictly if you are not sure about whatever contents of that relate to Islamic, that relate to any decision and deliberation relate to Sharia, then it is better for you to refer to the valid references. Kita jangan tanya Ustaz Google terlalu banyak. If you refer to Google, please refer to valid ataupun resources yang kita boleh pastikan kebenaran dia. Sebab ada juga translation of Al-Quran online yang tidak betul. And then again, if we are talking about sukuk, okay, it is a challenge for me also that I accept now for sharing about sukuk to all of you. So biasanya what we can say, sukuk is not familiar among public. Maybe because it is not ordinary product. For example, like shares, like gold. People buy gold. People can invest in share. You open CDS account and you can invest. Options, warrant, property, unit trust, forex. But sukuk has its own customer, and it is managed by a certain party, certain investor. Okay. But actually, sukuk shares or total of sukuk asset in Malaysia is enormous. Okay, Malaysia has qualification. Malaysia has investors, ready investors, technology in sukuk. Even with the first shell issuance of sukuk, at that time there is no benchmark. Okay, this is what talk that I've shared. Maybe you already attended last 2 weeks webinar. It's about sukuk. So the speaker saying that The first Sukuk in Malaysia is the issuance of Sukuk by Shell. And at that time, there is no benchmark. So Malaysia is actually in a fast moving, and we can say the source of reference in Islamic finance. Okay. And in difference from banking, where banking take money from people with surplus and to those in deficit, it is indirect investment. If we want to invest in the bank, we put money in the bank, and bank we do the investment, like when we enter into mudarabah contract. However, in Sukuk is when we do direct investment. Okay. Okay. That one is introduction. Okay. This is the presentation outline of Sukuk. As I mentioned just now, Sukuk will company with big company will issue Sukuk when they want to, let's say, increase working capital, or they want to do refinancing, or they want to open up new project, big project. Okay, let's say a hospital. During COVID-19, there is a need for them to buy PPE equipment. They want to buy special machine, and they need, let's say, millions of money. Okay, so how actually they want to gain, or they want to get money? There are a few options, whether they will issue shares, options, or apply for financing. Oops, sorry. Okay, so apply for financing. But if the bank apply for finance, the company, the hospital, now the hospital apply for financing, the rate is set by the bank. Okay, the bank will set the rate based on market rate. So it is up to the hospital whether to choose that particular bank or not. Okay, so when saya cakap tadi, in order for them to get money in terms of whether they want to issue shares, okay, preference share, options, financing, or they can issue bond or Sukuk. Okay, Sukuk, we can say it is sijil keberhutangan, debt based. But you know that when we category Sukuk, you can have it like debt and equity. Okay, even it is debt, for example, if it is based on ijarah or salam or istisna. Kalau based on equity, it can either be musyarakah or mudarabah. However, basic idea dia, Sukuk ni adalah satu keberhutangan. Okay, debt. Okay. And then when we differentiate between financing, kalau kita nak mohon pinjaman daripada bank, it is different when we issue bond. Okay, when issue bond, now is Sukuk. I gonna set now when we issue Sukuk, Sukuk investor have benefit. For example, they will get profit. Proceeds and profit from the investment, and it depends on the contract that they are entering, whether they will get full sales from the underlying asset if it is asset based. Okay. Yes.
Madam tengah tunjuk slide ke, sebab saya tak nampak?
Okay. Yang lain nampak ke?
Tak nampak, Dr. Nurul.
Tak nampak. Sorry.
Nampak,
Daripada awal ke tak nampak?
Tadi nampak sekejap. Ni baru ada pendek.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sebaik ada yang bagi tahu Okay. It is okay. Now actually slide-nya baru second slide. Okay. So the presentation outline consists of the overview of Islamic capital market, definition and origin of Sukuk, a role of Sharia framework in Sukuk structuring, Sukuk structure, issues, opportunities and challenges in the Sukuk market. Okay. I think you already know about the Islamic capital market. Okay. So it involved with issuer. Okay. That is so capital market is part of a financial system that raise capital by dealing with shares, bond or other investment. Okay. It operates with the same institutional and regulatory framework as that of conventional capital market. So you know that Malaysia applies a dual banking system where conventional financial system works in parallel or operates in parallel with Islamic financial system. We have conventional bank, we have Islamic bank, we have capital market, we have Islamic capital market, we have insurance, we have takaful. Okay. And as I mentioned just now, the parties involved or the person or bukan person, the category that involved with Islamic capital market include industry player that involved with daily activities of Islamic capital market, the issuers, the arranger, fund manager, asset manager, investors, the instruments, and the support industry include legal, audit, Sharia, taxation. So in terms of how to ensure Islamic capital market, we have Sharia advisor. Okay. And issuer of Sukuk will be supported with an array of advisor. Kalau ada lead arranger ataupun co-arranger ataupun financial consultant, lawyers, investor, okay, they need to have, they need to consult with Sharia advisor, okay. And then only they can arrange the Sukuk, the documentation, and obtain relevant approval from the regulator. After they get approval, then only they will the Sukuk will make available to the market for subscription by investor. And Islamic capital market product can be available for investor through two channels, whether it is public or private placement. It is, the difference is basically on the regulatory requirement. Okay. And in issuing an Islamic capital market product, an issuer needs to identify its funding requirement, which will then be translated to the most appropriate instruments to be issued. Okay. For example, if they want to finance or infrastructure project that costs billions, maybe it's suitable for Sukuk. Okay, if it is to expand business, maybe it is equity or options. So, but there is no specific rules on what kind of instruments that they can issue. Okay, and this is the framework. I think you know it already. In terms of Islamic capital market, we have Sharia Advisory Council in Bank Negara Malaysia and Sharia Advisory Council at Securities Commission. And that is at the, it is two tier. Yeah? That one is the first tier, and then the second tier is for the individual institution. Okay, the Sharia advisor. So the main statutory body is for Islamic capital market is Securities Commission. It is a self-funding statutory body that regulates and promote the development of capital market. Okay. And I would like also to show how actually Malaysia, being the higher issuer of Sukuk, okay, Malaysian corporate bonds and Sukuk market reported total issuance of 114.28 billion in 2021, which increased 9 to 28% from 2020. And we can see here that the Islamic capital market remain a key component to the Malaysian capital market, which contributes 65.4% to its total size. Okay, and the size of Islamic capital market increased at the end of 2021 as compared to 2020. Okay, so this comprise of total market capitalization of Sharia compliant security and Sukuk. Okay. Okay. As I go through your MAF 663 syllabus, I can see the main content is the Sukuk structure. And here I'll show you the evolution of the Sukuk Syariah contract. Okay. First, we can see the use of buy bitaman ajil with ina. Okay. And then mudarabah, and then ijarah, istisna, syarakah. Okay. And then now we have hybrid Sukuk. So Malaysia has pioneered many of the world innovative Sukuk structure. Initially evolved based on debt base and equity base. Okay. The evolution or the change of Syariah contract, it depends on many factors. Okay. Kalau kita tengok kepada macam kita simpan duit di bank kan. If you are familiar with wadiah, dulu digunakan wadiah sebagai Syariah contract dalam current and saving account, but because of the issues because it evolved, macam ni, ada perkara yang ditetapkan dalam syariah itu memang kita tak boleh nak ubah. Sebagai contoh, for example, kalau solat fardu 5 kali sehari, janganlah pula kita rasa macam, oh hari ni macam rajin sikit ya, kita nak solat fardu 6 kali. Ataupun hari ni rasa macam free sikit lah, solat subuh 4 rakaat lah. Oh tak boleh ya, itu adalah fix. But in terms of business transactions and so on, it can change according to different deliberation and decision by Sharia scholar. Okay, that's why we can say that in one country, certain Sharia contract, for example, inah is accepted, but in other countries, certain inah is not accepted. For example, here, if you can see that at the beginning, they used by bitaman ajil, I think it relate to inah. But then globally, in Middle Eastern, dia tidak accept kepada inah. Inah ni sell and buy back. Kita beli, kita jual dan kita beli semula. So dia tak accept, and then we evolve and do innovation, and then we move on to the different contract. Kalau kita going back to my example just now, years back, the bank apply wadiah to saving account, but now Bank Negara Malaysia issued instructions or guideline that they have to convert it into court, or ada yang menggunakan mudarah dan sebagainya lah. Okay, it depends. So now Sukuk means financial certificate. Okay, if we are dealing with Arabic terms, okay, we always define it according to literature. Literally means what, and then technically means what. So literally it means financial certificate, technically it means Sukuk in the context of money, and capital market refer to certificate or securities representing financial rights arising from underlying trade and other commercial activities. And the rest is the, okay, let's look at, we have the pointer. Okay, this one is the definition by ALFI. Okay, ALFI is an organization based in Bahrain. They come up with their own accounting standard, audit standard, governance standard, because for them, the conventional based standard is not sufficient to fully show transparency in the Islamic financial transaction. So in Malaysia, we normally refer to IOFI, okay, for guidance because they aim for Sharia compliant. Even okay, IOFI, as I mentioned just now, issued accounting standard, but for Malaysia, they use MASB. But then I will explain about that later. Okay, this is the definition of Sukuk, and then you need to know that kalau you tengok kepada definitions of Sukuk ni, dia relate kepada undivided shares of ownership ni, dia macam equity based, macam partnership. Okay. What I would like to highlight now is that when product offering by bank or Sukuk, normally they will combine main Sharia contract and with support with other contract. Okay. For example, simple example that I would like to share, maybe you know this already, is about murabahah. So murabahah is what? Murabahah is cost plus. There are certain conditions on the applications of murabahah where the party involved need to inform how much is the cost and how much is the profit. Okay, so murabahah for vehicle financing, for example. Okay, so I don't have enough money. I want to apply for vehicle financing. I go to the bank. I kata I want to apply for a vehicle financing. And then we enter into a murabahah contract. Okay, vehicle financing can either use murabahah or al-ijarah, sumabai, and so on. But now we are looking at murabahah. Okay. So what happened is that the bank will appoint me as an agent to choose the car. So I, as an agent, we choose the car, pergi pada showroom, dealer dan sebagainya. I pun choose one car, which is the best lah, the best car for me. And then I beli as an agent for the bank. So the bank own the car. Okay. And then the bank will sell the car to me cost plus, murabahah, and on deferred basis. So I will pay installment. Okay, but the issue is that, let's say, when the bank buy the car, which is I'm the agent, and suddenly when I look at the car, I say, oh, I do not want to purchase, I do not want to buy that car, or and then I want another car. So there is a risk for the car to be stuck with risk to the bank to stuck with the car. Okay. So in order to avoid that, counterparty risk, the bank and me will have our promise contract. Okay. So at the beginning, I promise to purchase the car from the bank, and then the bank will promise to sell the car to me. So the main Sharia contract is murabahah, and the supporting contract is mu'ad and wakalah, agents. So similar to Sukuk, even it is partnership, it will support my other contract. For example, itu kalau hybrid ya, it will support with wakalah and so on. Okay. And then this is about bond and Sukuk information exchange, or BIX. It is a non-profit information platform established to provide free public access to information and bonds and Sukuk issued in Malaysia. You can browse BIX website. It provides comprehensive and up-to-date information on Malaysian bond and Sukuk market. To increase transparency for primary and secondary market, and at the same time facilitate investors. And then definitions of corporate bonds and issuance refer to making available offering. Issuer means any person who makes available offer for subscription or purchase, okay, and invitation to subscribe. Obligor means an entity that is contractually obliged to honor the financial obligations of an issuer. Originator means any entity that is seeking to transfer or dispose of its asset to a special purpose vehicle. Okay, so now when we explain about Sukuk, normally we will find explanation about special purpose vehicle. Okay, it is separate entity that which is remote bankruptcy, meaning kalau ada apa-apa berlaku kepada originator, dia tidak akan effect SPV. Kalau originator dia ada default dan sebagainya, bankrupt dan sebagainya, dia tak ada effect kepada SPV. So this is to protect the interest of the investor. Okay. So the special purpose vehicle, ada juga cakap special purpose entity, incorporated in the first global Sukuk issuance in 2002 to issue Sukuk. Since then, almost all the global Sukuk issuance have used SPV, issuer structure. So SPV basically is a trustee as well as issuer of the Sukuk, evidencing the trust asset to the investor. Okay, but SPV can either act as mudarrib if it is in a mudarabah contract. Wakil, trustee, and legal consequences depends on that. Okay, and it is a subsidiary created by parent company to isolate financial risk. Okay, and legal status as a separate company. Okay, what is the advantage of Sukuk compared to conventional bond? Okay, Sukuk is based on underlying transaction which creates a close link between financial and productive flows. The financing must be channeled for productive purposes, for project financing rather than for speculative activities. We avoid gharar. Okay. So in contrast, conventional bonds generally separate such risk from the underlying asset. As a result, risk management and wealth creation may at times move in different or even opposite direction. Okay. And of course, Sukuk requires a high level of transparency. Issuing Sukuk also give access to a wider investor based on the instruments, attract not only the Islamic investor but also conventional investor. So meaning that we can Islamic non-Muslim can also transact with using Shariah contract or Islamic contract. Can a non-Islamic company issue Sukuk? Yes. Any institution or company can issue Sukuk so long as its activities is considered Shariah permissible. Okay. Okay, I'm thinking of anything I would like to add here. Okay, okay, origin of Sukuk. It is traced back to the 1st century of Hijrah when Khalifah Marwan used to pay soldiers and public servants both in cash and in kind. Sukuk. Dia bagi cert, dia bayar gaji public servant tu dalam bentuk cert lah. Okay, yang dia ada maturity date. Yang dia boleh redeem, okay, and receive a fixed amount of commodity, usually grains, okay, and then I will not explain further on this, but and then But one story about Zaid bin Arqam, okay, dia jual cert tersebut lah. Dia masih lagi belum maturity, tak sampai, so dia jual cert yang kita boleh dengan cert tersebut dia boleh bawa ke kedai dan ambil dia tukarkan dengan makanan asasi lah. So sebelum habis maturity dia jual dengan harga yang lebih rendah daripada nilai itulah. So this is the concept of sukuk lah. And Zaid bin Arqam ni ada ulama yang discuss sama ada boleh ke dia menjual duit nilai wang tersebut, tetapi sebenarnya the cert boleh digunakan untuk tukarkan kepada barang. So Syariah scholars in opinion that dia bukan jual, dia menjual aset underlying the cert. Dia sama konsep dia macam sukuk lah. Okay. When investor of sukuk, dia boleh jual sukuk dia di secondary market untuk mendapatkan liquidity. Okay. Dia tak sama macam kalau kita invest di bank lah. Okay. And then about Shell, okay. And the role of Syariah framework in sukuk structuring, I think I need to go a bit fast. So I think this one is you learn this already on the prohibitions of riba, gharar, maisir, syariah dan compliance. Okay. As highlighted by Dr. Sri Ayu just now at the beginning, people sometimes being ignorant of the importance of avoiding riba. We are very concerned on what we eat. Okay, kalau ada isu ayam tu tidak halal, daging tu disembelih oleh company yang langsung tak mengikut prosedur yang menepati syariah dan sebagainya, customer marah, viralkan dan sebagainya. Tapi kalau riba, they do not being so concerned as if riba is halal, but riba is actually haram. Okay, and I hope that you already know about the types of riba, okay, gharar, and what is speculation and so on. Okay. Okay, this is about sukuk structure. Okay. Various Syariah contract can be used as a sukuk structure. As I already explained just now, at the beginning we use inah, okay, in implementing or issuing sukuk, but it was not viewed favorable by the Middle Eastern Syariah scholars. Okay, Middle Eastern kata inah ni tak Syariah compliant. Tapi Malaysians Syariah scholar kata boleh. It doesn't mean that Syariah scholar here is wrong or other Syariah scholar is correct. There is a process to come out with a decision and deliberation, and there are not all people can do ijtihad. Apa-apa sahaja decision yang dibuat oleh Syariah scholars tu adalah dengan consensus, okay, dengan analisis dan sebagainya. The different decision is maybe because of different interpretation of sources of Syariah. Al-Quran interpreting the Al-Quran, interpreting the Hadith, okay. So that's, and then maybe because of different school of thought, different mazhab, then the decision is different, okay. But it doesn't mean that one is wrong and one is correct, okay. And that's why we can see also here in Malaysia kan, ada negeri yang menfatwakan perkara-perkara ini halal, ada negeri yang being silent about it, okay. And after INA, there is evolution of Syariah contract as used nowadays with the usage of multiple Syariah contract in the Sukuk structure. So multiple Syariah contract in one Sukuk structure tu dia tak pelik lah dan memang biasa. Okay, even if we talk about home financing, katakan kita nak beli rumah, we enter into a musyarakah contract. Musyarakah is a partnership where both party contribute money. Okay, so let's say home financing use musyarakah mutanakisah. The customer and the bank purchase the house together, and then the bank lease the house ijarah to the customer, and diminishing musyarakah mutanakisah, the ownership of the bank diminish up until the point that the house is fully owned by the customer. So we can say in this setup there is musyarakah mutanakisah and there is also leasing ijarah. Okay, so the combination or the usage of multiple structure is acceptable. Okay, and other example also vehicle financing al-ijarah summa buy, but of course, having said that, it will raise issue on substance over form. Okay, kita nak record accounting transaction tu sebagai leasing ke hire purchase ataupun sebagai financing. Okay, back to the discussion on accounting treatment, recognition and so on. It is considered as financing, substance over form. Sebab kita implement ijarah tersebut adalah untuk financing. So dikira sebagai financing. Okay. We will look at on the classification in terms of the asset origin. Okay, there are two types, whether it is asset-based sukuk or asset-backed sukuk. Okay, asset-based sukuk is boleh dikatakan famous lah now lah di Malaysia. Okay, it is raising finance where the principal is covered by the capital value of the asset, but the returns and repayments to sukuk holder are not directly financed by the asset. Okay. Asset back where it raise finance where the principal is covered by the capital value of the asset, but the returns and repayment to sukuk holder are directly financed by the asset. For example, let's say one entity issues asset-backed sukuk and the underlying or it is backed by let's say palm oil farm. Okay, whatever amount that the investor can get is up to the amount value of the ladang kelapa sawit tersebut sahaja. Okay, it restrict to that amount of ladang kelapa sawit if that ladang kelapa sawit is the back asset. Okay, so but asset base, mereka investor boleh menuntut setiap satu sen yang telah dicatatkan ke dalam sertifikat berdasarkan agreement yang telah dibuat. Okay. Some investor sekarang ni when I read it mentioned that some investor dia suka kepada sukuk yang asset back sebab dia didasari dengan satu aset yang kita nampak aset kan. Tetapi ada juga yang go to asset base sebab dia adalah debt base. Semalam nak cakap it depends on the decisions of the issuer lah. Ada juga issuer yang dia tak nak back by asset, but that is difficult lah to structure. Okay, so first is murabahah. Okay, sukuk al-murabahah. Okay, prior to 2007, sukuk is based on buy bitaman ajil and murabahah were using a sale of buy back structure by al-inah. Okay, macam I cakap tadi, by al-inah ni dia tidaklah globally accepted. Okay, now at that time there is no SPV involved. Okay, here if you look at the diagram, it comes from figure 10.6, which is from the textbook. Okay, maybe I should look at the diagram itself. If you have the book, you can refer to that also. If you cannot understand my explanation, then you can read further. 10.6. Okay. 10.6. Okay, the issuer is Sunway City. Okay, their self-identify asset to HSBC. Okay. HSBC is facility agent, and the facility agent acting on behalf of the investor. Okay, so Sunway City jual aset kepada HSBC on the spot basis. Maksudnya dia dapat duit penuh lah. Okay, asset purchase agreement will be signed. So now asset tersebut milik HSBC. Okay. And then HSBC dia akan bayar purchase price to Sunway with the proceed raised from the issuance of sukuk. Okay. Sunway City jual aset kepada HSBC. Macam mana HSBC nak bayar? Dia dapat duit daripada issuance of sukuk. Okay. So investor is now own the asset. Dia jual balik kepada Sunway on deferred basis. The deferred selling price will be higher than the spot purchase price. Okay. Finally, Sunway will issue murabahah sukuk to evidence its obligation to pay the deferred selling price. Okay. Once the sale of the asset from the investor to the issuer has taken place, investor do not own the underlying asset used to facilitate the transaction anymore. What they own is the entitlement or rights to the sales price. Okay. Is it clear on this, Ina? Dia jual, okay? Dia jual, dia basically kalau murabahah ni dia jual, kalau Ina ya, dia jual dia dapat duit penuh lah on the spot basis. Lepas tu, bila dia beli balik, dia bayar by installment. Dia bayar tu proceeds kepada sukuk tersebut lah. Maksudnya profit yang sukuk investor akan dapat. So Sunway City dapat duit on the spot basis. Investor dia akan dapat duit in terms of the deferred basis payment from Sunway. Okay. However, global Islamic capital market does not utilize Bad al-Inah. Bank Negara Malaysia after that say this one is before that boleh guna Inah lah. And alternatively, they use tawarruk. Tawarruk is commodity murabahah. Okay. So Malaysia has established Bursa Suk Al-Sila to facilitate the commodity trading. Okay. So this is sukuk commodity murabahah. It involves commodity. Okay, and then it happened in Bursa Suk Al-Sila lah. What happened is that this is figure 10.7. Okay. Cagamas purchase. This is 2007. Okay, this one prior to 2007. So beginning to 2007, kita dah start tak boleh guna inah lah dalam sukuk. So tawarruk is one way to solve issues highlight by inah. Issues yang wujud dengan inah punya transaction tu, kita solve dengan komoditi murabahah ataupun tawarruk. Kalau if you look at now, the use of tawarruk ni memang dia macam famous lah. Even we can buy house using tawarruk. Okay. Tawarruk ni dia macam solution. Ada orang cakap macam Panadol. Panadol tahu kan? Pening sikit Panadol. Sakit perut Panadol. Okay. Tu tawarruk lah ibaratnya. So, Cagamas purchase commodity on spot basis. If you look at the diagram, it involves sales and purchase. However, the difference is that it is sales and purchase between different party. Kalau macam inah, dia akan between parties, the same party. So, kenapa kita tadi jual dan kita nak beli balik? So, that's a question mark lah kan. So, now, involve broker A and broker B. So, Cagamas purchase commodity on spot basis from broker A. Broker A. Okay. So, Cagamas get money. Okay. Cagamas issue sukuk to investor. Okay. And the proceeds are used to pay purchase price of the commodity. Dia issue sukuk, dapat duit, dia bayar untuk beli komoditi tadi. Trustee, on behalf of the sukuk investor, this is the trustee, sells the commodity to Cagamas at a deferred price. Okay. So, now, bila sukuk investor tu, dia dah invest dalam sukuk, dia boleh jual kepada Cagamas on a deferred price. Okay. Cagamas sells the commodity to broker B on spot basis. Okay. Proceeds received from the sales are used to fund Syariah compliant operation. Okay. And then Cagamas made periodic profit distribution to the trustee on the obligation to pay the deferred price. Upon maturity, Cagamas will pay the principal to redeem the sukuk. Okay. So, actually, it is innovation lah. Maybe it is difficult to understand. Some say Islamic banking is too magic. Islamic finance do magic. Ya? Dia pusing sana, pusing sini, so jadi Syariah compliant. It is what meant by Syariah compliant product versus Syariah based product. We are now moving to Syariah based product. Kalau Syariah compliance product, it's like we imitate. As I explained to you just now on vehicle financing, dia nampak macam sama. Kita dapat kereta and then we pay. Okay, kita dapat kereta and then we pay. Conventional pun macam tu, Islamic pun macam tu. But the difference is the akad yang kita sebut semasa vehicle financing, contract dengan bank tersebut. Yeah. So you know that there are conditions for valid akad with contracting party, subject matter and ijab and kabul. Okay. Sama juga macam akad nikah. Kan? Akad nikah with proper rukun akad nikah fulfilled as compared to living together out of wedlock. So both insyaAllah lah boleh dapat anak kan. But it is different. Okay. So now we can see that basically Cagamas dapat duit and then dia bayar on deferred basis, which actually the proceed ataupun profit that the sukuk investor get. Okay. any question on sukuk, commodity, murabahah? Maybe Miss Shafinas and Dr. Sri Ayu would like to add anything?
So far I have not add.
Okay.
Alamak, kenapa my voice
Okay.
echoing?
Boleh dengar? Boleh?
Boleh dengar? Saya dengar suara saya echoing. Tak apa. To all students, if you have any questions, I think Dr. Nurul is happy to take any questions kan? Tak payah tunggu sampai habis ke?
Okay je, boleh. Cuma kalau I tak dapat jawab, I pass pada you.
Jangan.
Okay.
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 Students ada soalan tak so far? Senyap ni saya takut syahid dah semua ni. Petang Jumaat di petang Jumaat yang barakah. Ke terlampau khusyuk ni listening. So far I am really enjoying the lecture. Students saya tak tahu but because we cannot see them tak ada yang
It's okay lah, it's okay. I just proceed. It is recorded. Kalau dia terlentuk ke nanti boleh tengok balik lah ya.
Yeah, so ramai yang bagi thumb up ni. So rasanya okey lah ni. Masih semua masih ada. Alhamdulillah banyak thumbs up ni Dr. Nurul. Okey, boleh proceed kot ya.
So I focus on sukuk structure because when I look at the past year's question, it is not like exam oriented kan. Tapi I tengok jugalah takut I ni terkeluar daripada scope. Questions is on sukuk structure and default of sukuk which I will cover it later in and then sukuk salam.
Kejap Dr. Nurul, sorry. Tiba-tiba teringat. Asset base and asset back sukuk tu, I think that is also quite important. Ada tak soalan? Students ada soalan tak? Sebab dia macam sebenarnya quite, they are very, bukan nak kata sama, but we have to be very careful lah in differentiating the two. So maybe Dr. Nurul nak tambah apa-apa tak on asset base and asset back? Macam mana cara kita nak mudah untuk kita faham? Macam mana kita nak differentiate between the two?
Kalau macam overseas ni dia suka, nak cakap western kan, dia suka kepada asset back ni sebab bila kita nak invest kita nampak it is backed by asset kan. Kalau asset base ni but in Malaysia dia prefer asset base sebab kos kepada untuk isu asset back ni lebih mahal. But at the moment, I tak ada nak tambah apa lagi berkenaan dengan tu. But I think
maybe if you can highlight again to the students, what are the key differences maybe between the two?
Key differences. Asset back, dia investor tu dia boleh claim setakat nilai aset tersebut sahaja. Okay. Tapi kalau asset base, nilai yang dia boleh claim tu adalah nilai yang bila dia dah agree at the beginning. Mesti dia akan dapat setiap sen. Maybe later when we further explain about the structure ni mungkin lebih jelas lagi kot.
Okay, can we conclude that for asset back, the asset performance is important?
Yes.
Whereas for asset base, it's the performance of the sukuk issuer that is more important.
Boleh? Boleh.
Can we say that?
Boleh. Betul.
Kan? Okay. Alright, thank you so much.
Okay. Salam. Okay. We know that in Islamic financial transaction, we cannot sell something that we do not own. Okay. Kita tak ada barang tu tapi kita nak jual. We want to sell a fish that we are not yet to catch. Okay. We want to sell something that we do not own is not permissible. But for salam, it is permissible. It begin when it is set to help the farmer. kita bagi duit and then dia deliver the crops later. Okay. And then mesti bayar penuh lah, full payment. Itu salam. So now example 10.9. I'm looking at the diagram now. Maybe the diagram is not clear. Okay. Salam Sukuk issued 2014. CBB, Central Bank of Bahrain, issued Salam Sukuk. Okay. Investor proceed with evidence that CBB agrees to deliver commodity in 90 days. Maksudnya, dia pay with the evidence that they will deliver the commodity later. Benda ni tak ada lagi lah. In future. Pay first. Get the commodity later. So investor also appoint CBB as agent to sell the commodity once received. Okay. So CBB obtains an undertaking from the commodity broker to purchase commodity in future. Jadi ada purchase undertaking lah. I hope that you all learn already about purchase undertaking. So investor will only obtain their return at maturity when the commodity is sold to the commodity broker at a higher price compared to their investment amount. Okay. So investor sebenarnya dia bayar commodity kepada CBB and then dia jual kepada third party at the price higher. So the return tu sepatutnya of course lah higher lah, tidak rugi lah kan. Itu sukuk salam. Istismar blended. Ini new development where they combine murabahah and musyarakah. Okay. The sukuk holder appoint SPV as wakil to the sukuk holder to invest the sukuk proceed in sukuk investment. SPV declare a trust over the sukuk proceed and sukuk investment. Okay. SPV in its capacity of wakil appoints investment agent as its sub-wakil to invest in sukuk proceeds on behalf of the sukuk holder. Okay. So the investment agent invests the sukuk proceed in the sukuk investment as agreed in the business plan, and return generated from the sukuk investment may be distributed to the sukuk holder on a periodic basis. Upon maturity, the dissolution amount will be paid to the sukuk holder. You can read further this one on figure 10.10, which is murabahah and istisna. Okay. Page 430. Okay, and I tak go through yang ni. I nak terus kepada sukuk ijarah. Okay. Ijarah is lease. Lease. Dia ada ijarah sumabai, ijarah bersifat dimah. Ijarah is a type of contract whereby the owner leases out an asset or equipment to his client at an agreed rental fee and predetermined lease period based upon the akad. The ownership of the leased equipment remains in the hand of owner. Okay, sukuk ijarah is a certificate that shows the ownership of the investor, sukuk holder, on the leased asset and the rights to receive the income gained from the leased asset. Okay, here is when the company or when it involves sovereign sukuk. Sovereign sukuk ni bila dia involve government punya sukuk lah ya. They have asset and they lease the asset. Okay. I will explain to you further in a minute. So sukuk ijarah are the most widely accepted sukuk structure in the global capital market and the quickest to bring to the market. Most sovereign sukuk transaction, sukuk yang involve government, have been structured under ijarah concept, including those in Malaysia, Indonesia, Qatar, Pakistan. Ini macam sukuk daulat. Okay, example, this is in 2002. Okay, Malaysia Global Sukuk, Malaysian government and the SPV. SPV is Malaysian Global Sukuk in Labuan. Okay, now Malaysian government needs capital. So Malaysian government issue sukuk in July 2022. Originator. Okay. So in the financial institution, the investment banker identify certain asset owned by the government. Okay. So now the government set asset to the Malaysian Global Sukuk, SPV. Okay. It means securitization of asset. Okay, and then SBV sell the asset to investor. Okay, it is a true sales, the transfer of beneficial ownership. Bukan transfer title. Sebab government dia tak boleh jual aset government. Okay, asset here in this example are hospital Selayang, kompleks rumah pegawai kerajaan di Jalan Duta, hospital Tunku Apuan Rahimah. Okay, so government sell it to the SPV, SPV sell it to the international investor. Okay, and then now there is a new owner. Okay, so SPV pays proceeds to the SPV. So the originator get the proceeds from the sales of asset through SPV. Okay, so government dapat duit lah. When the government get the money, so they can use it for apa? Building new school, development activities lah in the country. Okay, so but now we still want to use the house, the hospital, the residential house kan, office di Jalan Duta dan sebagainya masih lagi nak digunakan. So the government lease the asset from the new owner. Ijarah. Okay. In order to use the asset. So lease to originator. Okay. So when the government pay the rental payment, it is considered as profit for the investor. Okay, so investor will get money, will get profit from the originator. Okay. So in the government book, it is liability. Okay. And what is the at the end of the maturity? This is 5 years. 2000. Because from the reading, the longer the duration, the more risk, higher risk. So biasanya tak lama lah, tapi ada je yang 30 years sukuk. Because there are many factors to consider. Kalau asset tu local, investor overseas, they must also consider exchange rate dan sebagainya. So now, after the maturity, the originator purchase back the asset. SPV, they akan sell the asset back to originator. Number 7. Okay. Proceed from the sale of asset will be used to repay the investor in terms of the principal amount of the sukuk. Okay. So what is the benefit that the investor have? The investor gets the profit, the rental payment, plus the proceed from the sale of asset. Itu investor yang punya benefit. From the originator, from the government, what is the benefit for the government? The government gets money from the investor, capital tadi, and then the government get sufficient time to generate revenue to pay the principal to the investor within the duration of the sukuk issuance. Okay, so this is example of sukuk ijarah. Okay, and the bank buy back the asset after maturity at the face value and not market value. Okay, this is figure 10.11. 10.11. Figure 10.11 on page 434. I think you have also the book, Islamic Financial System, Principles and Operation. It is example of ijarah sukuk structure of the Hong Kong government. Okay. You can read further on this because I already explained to you. Now, in order for you to understand the structure, you need to understand the Shariah contract. Okay, whether it is exchange based or whether it is partnership based or it is a supporting contract. If it is exchange based, you need to understand istisna itu apa, murabahah itu apa, salam itu apa, okay, ijarah itu apa. Okay, kalau partnership based, you need to understand mudarabah, okay, between mudarib and rabumal. What happened in the arrangement? Okay, the rabumal contribute capital, mudarib contribute expertise. Profit shared but loss only borne by the rabumal. Musyarakah, profit and loss shared, both contribute money. So that is the basic information about Shariah contract. Okay, and then we move on to istisna. Istisna is when it involves manufacturing. Okay, so istisna structure is a contractual agreement for the sale of goods or commodity to be produced in future. I selalu bagi contoh kalau kita bayar kontraktor lah ya. Istisna structure is specially suitable for financing large infrastructure project. Okay. If a subcontractor needs to be involved, the suitability of the istisna structure will depend on the permissibility of the contractor to enter into an additional istisna agreement with the subcontractor. Okay, here now, if we want to illustrate application of istisna in home financing, they always involve or it is actually parallel istisna. It is between the customer, the bank, and the contractor. Okay, so the bank enter into istisna contract. The customer enter istisna contract with the bank. That is the first istisna. Okay, the customer will pay to the bank to manufacture the house. Okay. And the bank enter into the second istisna with the contractor. Okay, it is parallel istisna. So once the contractor done building the house, delivered to the bank, and then bank will deliver it to the customer. Okay, but in sukuk, normally there is no parallel istisna. They will combine with other Sharia contract. For example, ijarah mawsufah fi dhimmah, and also we include in musyarakah. Yeah. So in order for us to explain about istisna, we may want to look at the hybrid structure tu, ataupun dalam partnership base. But I found here an example of istisna. Okay. SPV issue sukuk certificate to raise fund for the project. Okay. And sukuk issue proceed are used to pay contractor. Okay. Dia issue sukuk, investor bagi duit. Okay. And dia gunakan duit itu untuk bayar contractor. Title is transferred to the SPV. Okay. And then property project is leased or sold to the end buyer. The end buyer pay monthly installment to the SPV. Okay, and then the return are distributed among the sukuk holder. Okay. And then we are now entering into a partnership-based sukuk. Okay, at the beginning of the lecture, sharing, I mentioned about whether it is debt-based or equity-based. Okay. So, you know that for equity-based normally involve musyarakah and mudarabah. When we look further on the partnership contract, dia akan cakap share profit. But the profit shared is not in amount. It is in ratio. Kita tak boleh tetapkan profit, fixed profit tu tak boleh. It is based on the profit gets from the business lah. Kalau macam mudarabah, rabumal, let's say we put money in the bank, enter into a mudarabah contract. Okay, and the bank will invest the money. If there is a profit, then it will be shared. If it is a loss, then it will borne by the rabumal. Kalaulah depositor tu enter into this mudarabah contract. And then of course you know about there are mudarabah mutlaqah, mudarabah muqayyadah, whether they can control on what types of investment made. But then is the other thing. Now I want to highlight that it is not fixed return to the fixed profit to be shared. It is based on ratio. So when we want to structure sukuk based on partnership, the fundamental challenge of matching the fixed income nature of debt. Kalau debt, kalau hutang kita boleh cakap monthly you kena bayar berapa. Kan? During duration 5 years, berapa rate you kena bayar? At what rate? From the amounts, principles, kan? But now, the fundamental challenge of matching the fixed income nature of debt instrument with Sharia requirements. Sharia does not allow the guarantee of capital or return in this instrument. So this inherent equity feature conflict with the nature of fixed income debt instrument. However, macam saya cakap tadi, dia buat magic kan? Innovation dan sebagainya. So Malaysia is Malaysia have expertise. Some practitioners use credit enhancements such as reserve, liquidity facility, top-up mechanism, incentive fee, and purchase undertaking at a predetermined price to this equity-based instrument to fix them into the fixed income box. So dia adakan mekanisme ni supaya dia dapat fixed income. However, dia ada capping lah. capping, dia ada cap lah. What happen if it is lower than the fixed ataupun higher? Okay. And in partnership base ni, we need to know about purchase undertaking. So purchase undertaking dated the issue date and granted by the obligor for the benefit of the trustee, and the delegate, and includes the form of the sale agreement to be entered into the accordance with the purchase undertaking. Okay, this is sukuk mudarabah. Tadi I cakap kita nak tengok kepada partnership base pula. So mudarabah, two parties, involve two parties. Okay, the parties are investor, Rabumal and Mudarib. Okay, if venture is profitable, profit will be based on pre-agreed ratio. If it is lost, it is borne solely by the Rabumal. Okay. Mudarabah contract may involve two or more parties. Okay. Kalau kita enter into a contract, kalau depositor, semua orang yang simpan duit tu dikira Rabumal lah. Kalau we are entering into a mudarabah contract with the bank. So the difference between mudarabah and musyarakah contract is that in the latter, all parties contribute capital and service. Okay. Mudarabah, not both party. Okay. So example of sukuk mudarabah structure. Okay. So what happened is that Mudarib, okay, this is Mudarib, and Rabumal enter into a mudarabah contract, mudarabah venture. Mudarib provide expertise or entrepreneurship, Rabumal provide capital. Okay. So Mudarib enter into agreement with a project owner for construction, let's say a project. So SPV issue sukuk to raise fund, okay, and Mudarib collects regular profit payment, okay, and final capital proceed from project activity for onward distributions to investor. Upon completion, Mudarib hands over the finished project to the owner. Okay. And this is the structure of DP World Mudarabah Sukuk, which is figure 10.13. Page 439. Okay, you can read further on this. And then Sukuk Musyarakah. Sukuk Musyarakah is suitable if the originator does not own an actual asset or tangible asset, or do not have sufficient fund to purchase such asset, to permit an ijarah structured on a sale and leaseback arrangement. So it is a partnership between two parties. One, each party contribute capital for the purpose of financing the business venture. Any profit and loss will be shared. Okay, profit will be shared based on pre-agreed ratio, and loss will be shared based on the equity participation, based on berapa yang dia contribute. Okay, it is a profit loss sharing. So this is example of musyarakah structure. Okay, they enter into a musyarakah venture. There is a capital contribution for partner 1 and partner 2. Okay, for a fixed period and agreed profit sharing ratio. A corporate undertakes to buy musyarakah share of the SPV on a periodic basis. The musyarik contribute land or other physical asset to the musyarakah. Okay, and then SPV, now as musyarik, contribute cash, issue proceed, receive from the investor to the musyarakah. Musyarakah appoints the corporate as an agent to develop a land or physical asset, okay, on behalf of musyarakah. And then the return, in return, agent will get fixed agency fee plus variable incentive fee payment. So you tengok dia nak bagi fix tu, dia masukkan elemen incentive fee. Profit are distributed to the sukuk holder. Okay. And then proceeds from sales of the sukuk asset will be used to repay the investor, the principles of sukuk. So investor dia akan dapat principles plus profit. Structure you can read further. Tu saya cakap if you want to go to one by one ni, dia akan jadi, sebenarnya dia akan pening lah, jadi banyak The main point is that you need to understand syariah contract tu apa. So dia akan masukkan ke dalam arrangement structure ni, so that the originator, the one that the debtor tu akan dapat capital ataupun duit, and then investor akan dapat proceeds, akan dapat profit. Okay. Wakalah. Sukuk al-wakalah is useful if the underlying asset available for use to support the issuance of the sukuk comprise a portfolio of asset or investment in contrast to a tangible asset or asset. Okay, dia underlying asset tu, dia bukan all tangible asset, tapi satu portfolio. Dia ada ratio dia lah, certain percentage ratio dia required by the regulator. Tak ingat The originator may use asset that otherwise would be considered non-tradable debt arrangement as part of the portfolio of investment comprising the sukuk asset. The structure is similar to mudarabah. Okay. However, in contrast to the mudarabah concept, pursuant to which the investor and the originator shared the profit in pre-agreed ratio, wakalah structure allow the investor to receive only the agreed upon profit return. The wakil, on the other hand, may keep any profit in excess of this agreed upon profit return as an incentive fee. Okay, so dia akan masukkan incentive fee element here. This is example of cagamas. Okay. Cagamas Global Sukuk Berhad is SPV. Okay. A special purpose vehicle incorporated offshore in Malaysia and wholly owned by Cagamas Berhad. Issue certificate. Okay. To investor in return of sukuk proceed. And then the Cagamas Global Sukuk Berhad is an issuer, and its capacity as trustee will declare trust over a sukuk proceed in favor of the investor. Okay, and then, okay, Cagamas Global Sukuk Berhad as trustee will apply the sukuk proceed according to the ratio, predetermined ratio. Okay, and number 4, sale of initial wakalah asset and the commodity murabahah investment will constitute of the sukuk asset. And then CGSB, we appoint Cagamas as wakil to manage the wakalah asset, among others, to generate the expected return, credit the profit collection to the trustee, and ensure that the tradability ratio is maintained at all times during the tenure. And then number 5, okay, Cagamas sells commodity to Bursa Malaysia, and proceed received from the sale will be used to fund Cagamas Islamic operation, okay, and Cagamas undertake to purchase the wakalah asset and trustee obliged to sell via purchase undertaking at the maturity, event of default or cancellation of sukuk at the exercise price that will be sufficient to pay the dissolution amount or redeem of sukuk. I think for the sukuk wakalah, you can refer to figure 10.15. Maybe you need time to absorb or to read that. Okay. This is, I think, provide more clarity, which is on page 444. I need to move further on sukuk default. Okay, sukuk default may be related to obligor. That's why in the process of designing the sukuk structure, takes time. They need to do analysis, how actually they want to determine which contract. Okay, in order for the government, for example, if there is a new sukuk issuer, there is a need to determine what is the objective. Okay, whether it is to refinancing, whether it is to for working capital or to finance new project. Okay, that is one. And then second, whether it is asset backed or asset based. Okay, if it is asset based, maybe ijara. Rabah, it depends on the decision by the government and the consultant. Okay, and then there is a need to determine the duration. Okay, whether 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 30 years, ataupun tak ada maturity pun, perpetual. Okay, maybe they will end it when it fulfills certain conditions. Okay. Of course, as I mentioned just now, it depends, it will affect other risks such as exchange rate. Okay. The longer the duration, the higher the risk. Okay. And then there is also need to determine who are the entities involved. The advisor, the Sharia advisor must involve in regulation, okay, to assist or to advise the arranger, the financial consultant, okay, lawyers, investor, issuer, okay, if there is any other factors also on law, on tax, on the risk, okay, whether it involves tax neutrality or not, you know, it happened in Islamic finance institutions on the recording part, on the recognition and measurement. Okay, recognition and measurement, I would like to share when, for example, sukuk ijara, okay, government sell asset, investor buy, and then government lease, okay, and then purchase back the asset. itu tidak ada inah sebab dia dah jual dulu. Dan dia ada list kat situ kan. Dia bukannya jual dan beli direct macam inah. Inah. Tapi dia jual, list dan beli balik. Okay. But now there are accounting issues. Okay. Whether it is a linked transactions, sales, lease, repurchase, is it separate transactions or single transaction? Or other issue is that should the government remove the asset sold to SPV from its statement of financial position? Dia dah jual aset tu, dia nak keluarkan ke? De-recognition. Or on the functions of the SPV, whether it is consolidation and then classification and measurement, other accounting issues and then disclosure and so on. Okay, there is a need to consider this. Okay, back to the Sukuk default. There's two situations of Sukuk default. A scheduled payment of face value have not been made by the Sukuk issuer, which directly linked to default of obligor. Any kalau ada bankruptcy dan sebagainya. And then the clause of Sukuk is violated. Can either be positive clause or negative clause here. I can read here. Positive clauses requiring the obligor to maintain the financial ratio at a certain level. Or negative clauses imposing restrictions on the obligor, a violation of which might be deteriorating to the position of the Sukuk holder. Okay. And then issues and challenges. Sukuk rating. Okay. Sukuk rating because this is Islamic, tapi dia the methodology adopted is not diverse much from the rating of other debt instruments or bond. Masih menggunakan rating. And then in terms of rating, somehow investor might choose Sukuk that have good ratings because of low risk. But of course, low risk will comes together with a bit low return. Okay, and then from the perspective of the debtor tu ataupun contoh the government ataupun the company, when they want to go for rating, of course there is need to disclose extensive information. And then second, Sukuk valuation resembles the valuations of conventional bond. And then Sukuk default, technically it is believed that Sukuk default by the issuer cannot occur in its true sense as they are not debt instrument issued by the issuer. Okay, but then there is a Sukuk default. Okay, so maybe there is a need to have Islamic finance architecture include on the discussion among the practitioners, the regulator, on how to reduce the risk of Sukuk default. And then legal regime, because Sukuk often require the creation of SPV and the transfer of asset to raise finance to such SPV. So this might give rise to additional tax and stamp duty, putting Sukuk at a disadvantage as compared to conventional bond. But of course, kalau discussing about tax ni, we always relate that to tax neutrality for Islamic banking operations. Okay. And then standardization of fatwa. Of course, different fatwa by Sharia scholars. So it might bring confusion to the stakeholder. Okay. And Okay. Endorsement are subject to different interpretation. Differences in opinion can create volatility in the market as seen with the impact of the IOF statement. So you know that for Malaysia, Islamic Financial Institution implement MFRS approved accounting standard. Okay, so IOF standard can only be as a support of guidance. If there is any element not covered in MASB approved accounting standard available in IOF standard, then I can refer or implement that standard if it does not contradict with the MASB approved accounting framework. Okay, and then mechanism for default. The development of a mature market requires that Sukuk investor understand their rights and remedies in default. Okay, scenario. Okay, and then risk management from originator's perspective. Operational risk, yeah, clear to avoid operational risk. Clear process and procedures. Ada juga yang kategorikan syariah risk tu di bawah operational risk. Syariah risk, of course, non-compliance to syariah. If the sequence is not correct, for example, and if it is murabahah, dia tak inform the cost and profit clearly to the other parties, so dia bukan syariah compliance. And then legal risk, on how to avoid or how to reduce legal risk is to clearly specifying the originator's relationship with the SPV. Okay. And then foreign exchange risk when asset is local and the sukuk issued are denominated in foreign currency. And of course, originator must consider if it is debt-based, it is backed on collateral, so there is a risk of loss of collateral. Okay. And ijara, when asset is securitized, credit risk will be transferred to investor. Okay. And risk management from investor's perspective is credit risk, the market risk, operational risk, and how to avoid or reduce operational risk is to assess the structure of the security. Liquidity risk, because sukuk investor go for sukuk investment because of their liquidity facility, kan dia boleh jual dia punya bahagian, okay, to get kecairan, to get liquidity. Okay, but in addition to the profit. So in order to reduce the liquidity risk, examine the liquidity of the instrument. If the securities are not liquid, then they should invest in this only if their investment strategy is to buy and hold. Okay, and of course they need to consider what happens if there's a bankruptcy of the originator. And updates on Sukuk Prihatin, okay, was issued by Malaysian government as a digital milestone. Subscription to the Sukuk was solely through digital banking platform, which utilized JomPay and Duit Now facilities. Okay, so Sukuk can help during pandemic COVID-19 to help sustainability. And then in January 2021, Securities Commission announced the expansion of Green SRI Sukuk Grant Scheme and then SRI Sukuk Framework, so where they support on the investment that consider or issued under the green, social and sustainability focus. Okay. And then with regard to the financial restructuring and rehabilitation of tabung haji, okay, And then of course, we can highlight on how Cagamas help issue Sukuk and in assisting or helping in the housing financing facilities in Malaysia. Okay. The references, I put it only two. It is Islamic Capital Market Principles and Practices, Islamic Financial System Principles and Operation. But actually, there are journals, okay, and website of BIX, a website of Securities Commission, MIFC, and speech from Tan Sri Datuk Muhammad Daud Bakar. Okay, so I think that's all sharing about Sukuk. I hope it will not be too overwhelming. I hope that from this short session, you can understand further on what is Sukuk. Okay. So Alhamdulillah, thousand apologize kalau ada salah silap dan sebagainya. Okay. So I think I pass to, baru nampak muka you all I pass to Dr. Sri Ayu and Madam Shafinas.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nurul, for the presentation. Very interesting, very insightful. I believe, yeah, we learned a lot today about Sukuk. I hope our students find this session highly useful for them as well. Of course, we will have more hands-on sessions during the tutorial with your, respective teaching lecturers, inshallah. However, I think this session today really provides a really good starting point for all of us, to get more knowledge and understanding about Sukuk. Shafina, do you have anything to say?
Tak ada, tapi banyaklah input yang kita dapat daripada session hari ni.
Very true, very true. Okay, so maybe we can have a question and answer session. So all students, if you have any questions or you have any comments, it can just be a point of, clarification. So please feel free to maybe turn on your camera and turn on your mic, to communicate with Dr. Nurul. So this is like a really good opportunity lah, for you to
I tak sure sama ada dia fulfill the objective of MAF 663 punya content kan. At least sikit pun, at least I hope ada lah kan.
It does. I think memang Dr. Nurul has actually helped the teaching lecturers a lot lah, in terms of coverage. I think we don't really, yes. So it really maps with the syllabus for MAF 663. Thank you so much, Dr. Nurul. We are really thankful for that. So I think we don't even need additional lecture for Sukuk. Kita cuma boleh proceed with tutorial. I think that's my personal view lah. Dr. Nurul has covered, I think, almost everything that we need to cover. So that is really good. Thank you so much.
Okay, berapa jam ni Sukuk ni? Berapa minggu punya topik?
Sepatutnya 2 minggu.
Oh, okay. 2 jam dia.
Sepatutnya lecture 4 jam lah kan, Syafinas? So plus 2. But so we can spend more
ada
time.
Discussion lah kan?
Yeah, we can spend more time on discussions lah. Any questions from the students? Maybe we can we have the students who turn on your camera? Yang mana tak ready, boleh cari telekong kan? Tak payah touch up pun tak apa, no problem. Tak ada markah, tak ada penalty. Kalau tak touch up, no problem. We would like to see your faces. Hari ni kita tak nampak pun student ni. Nampak muka Dr.
Kita tak
Nurul?
tahu lah ada ke tak ada, tak tahu kan.
Ada insya-Allah ni kan. I rasa ada. Tapi
Ada.
itulah. Boleh tak turn on your camera everybody? Tak nampak ni. Malu ke dia orang ni Kalau kelas saya paksa. Saya paksa dia orang buka kamera. Okay, I actually have one very simple question. Mungkin
Lari.
Nurul sebenarnya dah cakap dah saya rasa. Tapi maybe if you can reinforce this point lah. In terms of the type of underlying asset for Sukuk, are all types of assets qualified to be underlying asset for Sukuk, or are there any specific types of assets only? For example, can financial assets such as maybe lah, I was thinking of maybe account receivable contohnya, can that type of asset be the underlying asset for Sukuk ataupun macam mana?
Rasa boleh.
Boleh Semua pun boleh.
Sebab ada yang I pernah baca, dia ada credit card, bank credit card, so dia jual credit card receivable to issue Sukuk lah.
Oh, okay, faham.
So orang, the investor tu dia akan claim up to the amount of the
Receivable
tu.
Oh, okay. That is very interesting. Maksudnya banks tu dia guna dia punya account receivable, maksudnya credit card holders tu lah.
Dia
As the underlying asset.
dia lah kan, hak dia.
Yeah,
Sebab
the right to collect.
dia
to
kalau
receive.
macam transfer asset tu, dia bukan transfer of title. Kalau macam asset tu kan, dia bukan transfer of title, transfer of benefit. Share transfer. Tapi true transfer lah. Tapi tidaklah macam kita jual hospital kita ke, kan macam tu Cuma now Malaysian government dia tidaklah pergi kepada asset back ni sebab of course dia dah tak nak jual, dia macam tak nak jual lagi lah asset government lah kan. So dia moving, macam saya cakap, dia nak moving kepada yang tidak ada asset lah tu.
Saya risau juga bila dengar Dr. Nurul explain contoh tu macam government guna hospital as underlying assets. I was thinking, what happen if you know ada defaults kan, habis hospital kita nak kena so so that is
very ada banyak issues lah dekat parlimen semua. Dia macam tak tahu lah kat parlimen, tapi dia banyak issues lah bila involve government punya ni kan. That's why macam ada Syariah scholars to mention that ada juga yang country yang still learning about Sukuk ni, dia macam tak trust, apatah lagi when they involve something like this kan.
Betul tak? Okay, macam tak ada soalan ni. Students tak ada soalan Diorang ni nak balik cepat ni, nak habis cepat sebab hari petang Jumaat kan. Okay.
Kalau ada salah, kalau ada silap wallahu alam, boleh refer balik kalau ada confusion.
Ya, insyaAllah. Okay, so kalau tak ada soalan, Syafinas tak ada apa-apa?
Tak ada.
Celia, saya tak pasti. Mungkin she has something else kot
Mungkin aku ada meeting ke?
Ya, mungkin dia hantar student je petang ni. But that's okay. Yang paling penting adalah students tu kan untuk dengar. Alright, so with that, I think I would like to thank Dr. Nurul Huda again for accepting our invitation to be our guest speaker for today. And I believe she put in a lot of effort lah, in preparing for today's lecture. So may Allah reward the effort and time invested. Petang ni insyaAllah jadi majlis ilmu yang bermanfaat lah insyaAllah, mudah-mudahan So tadi Dr. Nurul dah buka dengan umur kitab. So I think kalau tak ada soalan atau komen, we can end our session today with Surah Al-As and Tasbih Kafarah. Okay, so thank you so much everybody, Dr. Nurul, Syafinas and all our dear students. So thank you so much Kita jumpa lagi insya-Allah minggu depan. So have a lovely weekend everybody. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.
Thank you,
Assalamualaikum.
Ratu. Thank you, Ratu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh ada tu baru bercakap thank you.
Yes,